The happy childhood days for Tim and Jeff Slaten would end on September 4th, 1984. This was when the Lakeland police officers awakened them with the most terrible news any child would want to hear. Their mother had been murdered. Before that, on September 3rd, Jeff Slaten got home from football practice. However, since he did not find anything to eat in the house, he decided to go eat at his grandparents' house, which was nearby. Jeff returned home at around 9:30 p.m., only to find an empty house. Shortly after, his mother returned with Tim, saying that they had gone to the neighbor's house to play a game of cards. Tim then watched his mother wash the dishes, but Jeff went to his room. After a while, before they all went to bed, Jeff came and apologized to the mother because they had fought earlier that day. She forgave him and wished her boys good night. The last words Jeff remembers telling his mother are, "I love you, Mom." But when he said those words, he never knew it would be the last time he said them. The following day at around 8:30 a.m., Judy, Linda's sister, came to check on them. She knocked on Linda's bedroom door, but there was no answer. It was quite weird, because Linda always woke up early before her children went to school. However, Judy didn't really think much about it and left. But as she was leaving, she noticed that something was off. The window to Linda's bedroom was missing a sheet and it was wide open. Quickly, she returned inside and knocked on Linda's door again. Again, there was no answer, so Judy decided to just walk in. But the moment she walked in, all she could do was scream. Upon entering Linda's room, Judy found her sister's lifeless body. Linda had a wire clothes hanger around her neck and her body was partially naked. Her body lay across the bed, her head on the floor. There was no signs of struggle. The caretaker, who lived nearby, heard the scream and called 911. In minutes, police cars and an ambulance were outside, and the yellow tape was all over the house. This is the point where the boys were awakened by the police, only to be told that their mother had been murdered. The police rushed the boys outside. But as they were doing this, Jeff walked past his mother's room without seeing his mother. However, for Tim, he managed to get a glimpse of the crime scene. A glimpse of his mother. Even when asked about it, he says, "I saw the whole crime scene right then and there as a 12-year-old kid." And to date, Tim still bursts into tears, claiming that he still sees the image of his dead mother. This is an image that he will always carry with him. The Slaten brothers held themselves accountable for what happened, feeling grief and guilt for not hearing anything that night. Jeff even says, "I would have died that night trying to save my mom, but I didn't hear anything, and it's so hard to live with that." Immediately after the murder, the Slaten brothers couldn't return to their home anymore since it was now a crime scene. They were immediately moved to their grandparents' house to stay there. The first few days were frightening enough for everyone, especially the boys. Because of that, the entire family slept in the same room. However, their grandfather would rarely sleep, standing guard all night with a shotgun. A few weeks later, the boys were back to school and Tim was back to playing football, which was his favorite sport. And when asked, he would say, "I'm just trying to live life again." Tim would always have the support of his teammates and coach, Coach Joe. They would always root for him, giving him the support he needed. Coach Joe, who was 20 years old at the time, was a very young man. Tim would always look up to him. After football practice every day, Coach Joe would always drive Tim home. This was a routine that started mostly well before the murder. Tim Slaten admired Coach Joe for many years until he hung a photo of his football team in his bedroom. This is a photo that was taken just 1 month after the murder, and according to Tim, would serve as a reminder of something his mom had taught him. Always keep moving forward and never give up. After the murder of Linda Slaten, the investigators collected a rape kit and lifted a palm print from her bedroom window. This is a window where the killer supposedly entered from. The detectives also questioned a few suspects, one of them being Linda's abusive ex-husband, Frank Slaten. At some point, even her own son Jeff was a person of interest. He claimed that the Lakeland police would always keep interrogating him. In the end, no one was charged, and years later, the case went cold and stayed that way for almost 4 decades. Jeff Slaten had a certainty that he would take his last breath without knowing who murdered his mother. But over those 4 decades, DNA technology has greatly developed, renewing the hope of finding the killer. When they revisited the carefully stored rape kit, it revealed an unlikely suspect, someone who not even the boys would have suspected. It was none other than Joseph Clinton Mills, also known by many as Coach Joe. This changed the whole meaning of the car rides to and after practice. As it turned out during the investigations, There was a reason that Coach Joe would drive Tim home every day after practice. This also changed Tim's football photo's whole meaning, making him sick to his stomach to this day. Standing directly behind Tim is the man he once trusted and admired, Coach Joe, someone he even looked up to. From time to time, Coach Joe would ask Tim how the case was going, whether there was any news or even any new leads. To Tim, Coach Joe is just concerned and wants to show his support, but all this time, Coach Joe is just keeping tabs on a murder investigation through the son of the murdered woman, when he knows exactly who did it. On the night of the murder, among the people that the police spoke to was Coach Joe. However, for the coach who was on call, Coach Joe claimed that he had dropped Tim off after football practice on September 3rd, 1981, which was the night before the murder. During his questioning, Coach Joe claimed that Linda Slaten invited him for consensual sex, but the detectives knew this was just a fabrication. They concluded that Linda was a target for him even before the murder. This would explain why the coach chose to pick Tim up and drop him off after practice every day. Not only that, but even the fact that he stayed so close to the Slatens is suspicious. So, what happened on the night of the murder? According to Coach Joe's statement, he dropped Tim off after football practice as he did every day. Later that evening, when no one was home, he broke into Linda's bedroom through the window. He then hid in the closet while waiting for Linda to return and sleep. At the moment she was asleep, he beat, sexually assaulted, and strangled Linda with a wire hanger from her closet. When he was arraigned in court, he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and sexual battery. Eventually, he was given a life sentence without the chance of parole. This was hard on the Slaten brothers because Coach Joe was such a great friend to them. Not only that, but Tim even looked up to him. How can you hate someone you admired for so many years? Tim had to deal with it after years and years of trusting him. Do you think there's a possibility that the Slaten brothers could have discovered that Coach Joe was the one who killed their mother earlier? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and before you go, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more exciting true crime stories. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.